Hey everyone, it's Lucas from Apple Fox, and today let's take a look at the Apple Watch Series 5 and let's compare it to the Apple Watch Series 1 and let's just see how fast it is. I mean, let me see the speed test of some basic things like opening up the apps and unlocking the watch and all of the stuff that you normally do with the watch. So let me see how fast it is in 2020, and also let me know down below in the comments if someone actually uses the Series 1 right now in 2020. So let's move on to the table and let's get started with the speed test. So here we have the Apple Watch Series 5 and the Series 1, and for the couple of people that are a little confused, this is not the original Apple Watch that has been released as a brand new and first model. This is the actual second generation but called Series 1. The first one is unofficially called Series 0. But as you probably know and can tell, there is a huge difference between these two devices in pretty much every single way. But let's just compare these anyway. So this was the bigger version of 42mm, and this one is also the bigger version, 44mm. So when you buy an Apple Watch, you didn't really get to choose what kind of storage you have or what kind of processor is in it. You only choose the colors, you only choose the band and the size, and of course the series. But if you choose a Series 3, all of them have the same capacity and pretty much the same chip and all of that. I made a comparison between these two watches already, you can take a look at it if you want, but let's get started with the speed test. I was trying to figure out how exactly I should do it, but yeah, we're just gonna go app by app, at first when it's fresh and also then when it's loaded. So at first let me clear all of the apps from the multitasking panel. I'm not sure if it does anything, but let's just get it done. Okay, we have it like this, and also both of them run the same version of watchOS. So the watchOS 6 is installed on both of these devices. So let me just start with simply unlocking the Apple Watch, and also let me put the exact same watch face just so everything looks to be the same, even though it shouldn't really make a difference or anything, but let me just get it like this. So now let's just get inside. You can see there is a difference. Of course, I'm trying to click as fast as possible and I'm trying to make it as fair as possible. Obviously the older one is going to be a little slower, but this is something you have to count with. So let me just do it once again. You can see the second try was a little faster, so the difference was big at the first try, but then it should get stabilized in some sort of way, and now it should be very similar actually. Now let's try individual apps. You can see that they are organized in pretty much the same way. I don't do a lot with this, but let me just, for example, open up the calendar. So there you go. You can see it was faster on the Series 5, but not dramatically. And now, once the app is loaded in the RAM, in the background, now it's going to be even more comparable. So let me go once again. You can see now it's just really nice, and it runs a lot better in my opinion. Once it is loaded in the background, like in the RAM, the speed of the apps is going to be very similar when you are opening them. When you are trying to open them, the speed is going to be very similar and very comparable once the app is already loaded in the background. So let me try music, for example. I'm going to go app by app just to demonstrate the difference. You can see it's very, yeah, these watches are a couple of years apart from each other, but the difference is definitely not that huge. Okay, so let's try some different apps, and for example, it could be something that you would use pretty much every single day. I mean, of course, depending on what you do with your watch, but it could be something like, it could be a calculator. This one is interesting because it hasn't been here for quite a while, and it has been added with the watchOS 6. So there you go. And as you can see, for some reason, the Apple Watch Series 5 actually took a little longer. This is interesting, but right now I believe that after the app is already in the background, like right now, the Series 5 is going to be so much faster. Not really the case, it's very comparable, so I kinda guess that the difference in the speed isn't that huge. Of course, there are many apps downloaded on the Series 1, but it's not like a stock Apple Watch. It also has some apps running from the App Store, some third-party apps as well, so perhaps let's try a third-party app. So let me, for example, find something I can use on both. So for example, the Outlook app, which is a mail app, and let me just try to get it or to open it at the same time. Like, of course, when an app requires internet connection, when it's a third-party app which hasn't been integrated that well, it can happen that it's still loading on the Series 1, and this is where it gets annoying. This is the part when the Series 1 it gets really slow, and right now you can see we even got we went to the sleeping mode on the Series 5, and we are still waiting for the Series 1 to actually load the mails, which isn't anything huge. It's like a normal task, but I guess it takes some time on the Series 1, and I'm not sure if it's able to load it anyway. So let me just go out of this. Yeah, third-party apps definitely a bigger advantage on the newer models. But let's take a look at, on the other hand, let's take a look at the Mail app, but the stock Mail app, which is already pre-installed on the watch. So like this, you can see we are instantly on inside the Mail app on the Series 5. Like, obviously there is a huge difference with this, but the Series 1 at least managed to load the mails. Like, with the Outlook app and the previous app that we tried, it didn't even load it anyway, so it's like, at least it works. It's a little slower, but I would say that the native apps and the pre-installed apps from Apple work mostly better when compared to the third-party apps. Like, obviously we have slower internals, slower processor and all of that. I mean, it only makes sense that it's gonna be slower, but I'm making these kind of speed tests to demonstrate where exactly and how much, if it is bearable, because these Series 1s are actually not very expensive right now. So maybe if you think about getting one, right now let's just try some different things to open up. You can see the Apple Watch can be a little buggy, even though it's a new one. Like, you can see if I press the digital crown, you can see it doesn't get me in. For some reason, this is a bug that I don't usually experience. A lot of times it's very fluid. You can see nothing really happens. By the way, the Series 5 just got stuck on one page, and I didn't know what to do, so I just held these two buttons at the same time to reset it. So yeah, the bugs happen, and if you buy a brand new version of the product, like of the Apple Watch or iPhone, it doesn't mean that it's gonna be 100% like perfect, but it's gonna be like 90% perfect, and the older one is gonna be like 60% perfect, depending on what type of watch or what type of Apple product you have. It's always a good idea to buy a brand new one, but I'm just trying to say that this old one isn't the worst one, if that makes any sense. One aspect where the Series 1 straight up sucks and this one is good is Siri and using Siri commands. Like, just let me show you what it looks like in everyday life. Is the Apple Watch a good product?
Apple.com should be able to answer that question.
I mean, yeah, like, the Series 1 isn't that loud, it doesn't have that good microphones. I mean, it takes really long to activate a Siri, it's not consistent, it doesn't give you that fast responses. When it comes to Siri, the Series 4 and 5 are gonna be worth it, and the ones are just gonna suck. I mean, there is no pretty much debate to this. If you have like better experiences, I mean, I'm glad that you do, but I usually hate using Siri on the older versions of Apple Watch. I mean, of course it works, you can ask some question, but it doesn't tell you out loud what it means. Like right now, it will probably not be able to hear. I mean, of course, it doesn't know what to say to me, but if I ask a question like, how old is the President of the United States? You can see that it takes time, but it eventually gives you the information you want. But because of the lack of good speaker, it doesn't tell you the information, which kind of sucks on the one hand, and also if you do nothing else and only focus on Siri, it's gonna be like normal. I mean, the performance and the speed, but if you already have like some tasks, in the background going on, then I think that it's just gonna straight up suck. And if it just forgets it in the RAM, in the background, the Siri is gonna be like deleted from the RAM, then it's just gonna take really long to activate a Siri. And a lot of times you use Siri because it's supposed to be faster than typing in your question and looking through Google. So I would say Siri really sucks. Now let's try to see how long it takes to recognize the Force Touch. You can see, I mean, the difference is huge and it adds up. Of course, it was like a fraction of a second, but it adds up, believe me. So in case you want to do only some basic task with this, in case you don't really want to download some third-party apps or to play games or do some extensive tasks and want to have an Apple Watch, which looks cool and all of that, but isn't gonna be very expensive, then the Series 1 may theoretically be a good option for you, but you can get for a very similar price like the Series 3 or Series 2 at least, which are a lot more capable, at least when it comes to the speed and performance. Like the design is still the same until the Series 4, but yeah, it just works better and it's a lot faster, what can I say. And actually the last test I want to try out is a native app. It's in an app store, and let me see how long it takes to open it up, because it is an internet-based app. It means that it requires internet connection, but let me see how long it actually takes to get there. So let me just click it like this. Everything depends on the strength of my Wi-Fi, and actually, you can see that we are already inside on the Series 5, whereas we are still loading on the Series 1, and these devices are connected to the same network, the same Wi-Fi, and there you go, we are inside, and the picture is right there. So it's not like it doesn't work, it just works slower. Like, of course, just take whatever you want out of this video, but I just wanted to demonstrate what it looks like in everyday life and like normal things that you normally do throughout the day. So yeah. Now let me try to scribble, and just try to do the same thing. So let me see what it looks like right now. So let me just, for example, I don't know, let me type in Instagram. You can see it works well, sort of, and here it has trouble to recognize it at first, but the experience is very similar. Of course, it takes a little longer until the letters actually show up as typed letters, but yeah, it had no problem. It was very comparable, and in the end, you don't really care if it takes 2 seconds or 1 second to show up the text. When it is able to recognize what you're writing, then in which you're scribbling, then it's okay, I guess. So this was the speed test. If you enjoyed it, hit the thumbs up to let me know that you liked it. And for more content like this, for more speed test comparisons, software updates, and reviews, make sure you click on the subscribe and become the fox of this channel. So thanks a lot for watching, and see you guys later in the next video. Peace out, guys.